Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at Grand Prix Miami. I'm Nick Miller alongside Hall of Famer William Huey Jensen and Grand Prix Miami defending champion Reid.
Hey.
How are you guys doing?
Excellent.
All right, we're talking standard here, an excellent GP in a wide open format. So the first question is, what's the best deck in standard?
I actually just don't know the answer. I
right.
tested a few decks over the past couple weeks getting ready for the tournament, and I ended up just playing what I like instead of what I thought was best because I just couldn't figure it out.
All right.
Yeah, the thing that's either really nice or really frustrating about standard, depending on your perspective, is that the tools are out there to beat any strategy. Personally, I feel that the whip decks are like the best, most powerful decks. You know, Black-Green Constellation, but I'm not playing that this weekend because they struggle a little bit against the dedicated control decks, which are popular lately.
Right. All right, so there's no best deck, so what are you guys choosing to sleeve up this weekend?
I'm playing Abzan Aggro, designed by Andy Boswell.
I'm playing Blue-Black Control.
And what makes those good choices for this weekend?
The Abzan Aggro deck is pretty strong against the slower decks, just coming out of the gates much faster and more smoothly than most other decks in the format. Good matchup against control, and just generally like high power level, you know, lots of good cards, and doesn't depend on any complicated synergies or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure Blue-Black is a good choice, but it's this type of deck that that I like to play. I think the metagame is veered towards more slow controlling decks, and I'm very comfortable, and I enjoy playing like those control mirrors. Right. So, you know, I'm comfortable in that sense, but I don't know if like it's a deck that I would recommend to somebody else.
Okay. So you guys both admit there's no best deck, so I'm assuming you don't think standard is solved right now.
Well, I think there probably is a best deck. I just don't know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's not solved. It'll continue to, you know,
what
change
makes
from week to week.
the format so robust? You know.
Well, part of it probably is that, you know, this is how many major standard tournaments have there been with Fate Reforged? Like, this is number 2, maybe 3, if I'm forgetting one. There was no standard Pro Tour, so there was not the initial boost of information that sets often get, because that Pro Tour was modern. So, right. You know, this is just developing. Unfortunately, it's going to be a pretty short format, but
standard is a format that doesn't have a lot of very strong linear strategies, like, you know, mono red, or like take modern for example. You have Storm, Affinity, all these different like crazy high power level linear decks. Standard doesn't have that. It's more of a mid-range format. So, you know, if you expect to face deck A, one good strategy is to be a little bit slower, a little bit more powerful than deck A. But then once you get to a point you're too slow, and the aggro decks start to be bad matchups. So it's a lot of a guessing game and choosing, you know, where you want your strengths and your weaknesses to be.
Okay. What are you thinking the most overrated and most underrated decks in standard are?
Most overrated decks. I really don't know. I mean, everything seems to be at a relatively even parity. I don't think there's like one deck that people consider to be tier 1 or one deck that people consider to be awful that are actually, you know, bad or great or whatever. Right. You know, maybe I'm surprised Siege Rhino doesn't get a little bit more play, even though it gets plenty.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have an overrated deck to mention. I think everything that people play is competitive and good. Underrated, I'd say the whip decks.
Right. Stuff like Constellation and Sultai Brews.
Yep.
Okay. So with this format, is there any card, say you had a choice to reprint any card you'd like into Dragons of Tarkir to make standard more something you'd like or more favorable to your play, what would that card be?
I would definitely reprint Sphinx's Revelation. For
No
purely
surprise.
selfish reasons.
Bonfire of the Damned.
No biases here.
None.
With this standard, you know, a lot of people have argued the skill intensiveness or, you know, the decision-making processes in this format. If there's one thing you would say to focus on to improve in standard, is there a, you know, one thing people are overlooking?
I would say just give a lot of attention to the small decisions, you know, what order to play your lands. Once you decide what you're going to do on a turn, what's the best order of things, you know, the best way to sequence it. All of these small decisions in standard can wind up making a much bigger difference than you expect.
Yeah, it's hard to focus on just one thing. Magic is a very complex game. I mean, in general, I would say if people just take their time and actually think about what they're doing, it's too easy in Magic in any format at any level to just play on autopilot,
right.
And that's, I think, where people mostly get in trouble.
Okay. Dragon of Tarkir coming up soon. What spoiler card has caught your eye?
My favorite so far is Sidisi Undead Vizier. 5 mana, 4/6 Death Touch,
Right.
Demonic Tutor when it comes into play.
I like both the Planeswalkers.
Okay.
Both of them are Planeswalkers that sort of produce card advantage. In the case of Sarkin, he makes dragons, and Narset also forks spells. All things that, you know, are very powerful in the kind of decks I like to play.
A little more likely to see you play Narset probably coming up than the other one?
I don't know. +1 draw card. That's good stuff. Draw card every time. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll have to see what the rest of the set has in store.
All right. Well, hold on. We're entering the lightning round. We're going to do a little catch and give. You're going to give me, I'm going to give you one word, or possibly two, and then you give me the answer that comes right to mind. If you shout it out at the same time, that's okay.
Okay.
Buckle up. Waves.
Master.
Master of Waves.
We're looking for Kiora, the crashing wave, but that's okay. Standard.
Abzan.
I just know words.
Devotion.
Green.
Blue.
Miami.
Florida.
Grand Prix.
Charms or commands?
Cryptic.
Abzan. Sultai.
Cons or dragons?
Dragons.
Dragons.
Huey Jensen.
Hall of Fame.
I'm not answering.
That'll work. All right, Reid, Huey, thanks for sitting down with me here in the
Thanks for having
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Miami.